It was a Sunday morning in Clearwater, Florida, the kind where the sun spilled through palm trees, casting lazy shadows on the pristine lawns of Willow Creek, a gated community that screamed perfection. White mailboxes gleamed, dog walkers nodded politely, and the air hummed with predictable calm. Inside one of those flawless homes, 12-year-old Ethan Brooks was pouring cereal when a crash shattered the quiet. His mother, Sarah, lay crumpled on the kitchen tiles, one hand clutching her chest, her eyes wide but empty. "Ethan!" she gasped once, then nothing. The cereal bowl hit the floor, milk splashing everywhere, as Ethan's trembling hands grabbed the phone and dialed 911. "Help! My mom's not moving. She's not breathing," he cried, voice cracking. The dispatcher's calm voice cut through his panic. "Stay with me, sweetheart. Help's coming. Give me your address." Ethan rattled it off, his heart pounding as she repeated it back. "Paramedics are on their way," she promised. For a fleeting moment, Ethan believed her. But outside Willow Creek's iron gates, 2 EMTs sat in their ambulance, lights flashing, engine idling, blocked by a guard in a stiff gray uniform. He held a clipboard, avoiding their eyes. "No entry without prior authorization. HOA rules," he said flatly. Inside, Ethan knelt beside his mother, the phone on speaker as the dispatcher guided him through CPR. His small hands pressed against Sarah's ribs, too hard, too fast, too terrified. "You're doing great, Ethan. Keep going," the dispatcher urged. Sweat stung his eyes, his arms burned, but he kept counting, 1, 2, 3, 4. Outside, the EMTs argued, flashing IDs, pleading that every second counted. The guard shook his head. "I need the property manager's approval." "Call her." The sirens wailed, useless, as the ambulance sat trapped behind a keypad. Minutes bled away, 6, 8, 12. Ethan's voice broke as he counted aloud, his knees raw against the tiles. Sarah's lips were pale, her body cold, but he kept pushing, kept hoping. "She needs you, Ethan. You're doing everything right," the dispatcher said, her voice a lifeline. But the paramedics were still outside, stuck for 15 minutes, then 18. At minute 19, the HOA manager finally called back. The gate creaked open. The ambulance roared in. When the EMTs burst through the door, they found Ethan slumped on the floor, soaked in sweat and tears, his hands limp on his mother's chest. She was gone. They worked quickly, monitors, drugs, pulses, but it was too late. Sarah's time of death was logged moments after their arrival. Ethan sat against the cabinets, eyes unfocused, breathing in shallow bursts. He didn't cry. He didn't speak. He watched them zip the black bag, watched them take away the woman who made heart-shaped pancakes and laughed at her corny jokes. The kitchen fell silent, heavy with the weight of 19 minutes that stole everything. The next day, a letter arrived in the Brooks mailbox, crisp and official, stamped with the Willow Creek HOA logo. Ethan's father, Michael, still in yesterday's clothes, tore it open. "To the Brooks family," it read, "we offer condolences for the unfortunate incident. However, emergency personnel require pre-authorization for entry. Failure to comply may result in fines or loss of community privileges. No apology. No names. Just cold corporate indifference." Michael read it 3 times, each word fueling a fire in his chest. His wife was dead. His son had fought to save her with his bare hands. And the HOA was threatening fines? Michael set the letter down, his hands steady but his resolve ironclad. Sarah was gone, but this wasn't over. If the HOA thought they could hide behind rules, he'd make them regret writing them. The HOA meeting was a sterile affair, held in a clubhouse that reeked of bleach and denial. Polished floors, gray chairs, and 5 board members in matching polos sat at a table, looking more like golf tournament organizers than people facing a widow's death. Michael arrived early, silent, as residents chatted about mulch budgets and tennis court repairs. When the floor opened for comments, he stood, his voice low but sharp, cutting through the room like a blade. My 12-year-old son performed CPR on his dying mother while your gate locked out the paramedics. He begged for help, and you made him wait 19 minutes. That's how long you debated paperwork over her life. The room froze. A board member, a woman with pearls and a practiced frown, cleared her throat. Sir, we followed protocol. Safety comes first. We can't bend the rules for one case. Michael locked eyes with her, his gaze unrelenting. Safety? He said. Tell that to my son. He walked out, no dramatics, no shouting. But as the humid Florida night hit him, something snapped. He wasn't just a grieving husband anymore. He was their reckoning. Michael wasn't a litigious man. He paid his taxes, waved at neighbors, and lived quietly. But now, in his dim office, he scoured for attorneys. Most brushed him off. HOA law was a fortress of contracts and fine print. You'll bankrupt yourself, one said. Let it go, said another. But Michael couldn't let go. Every time he saw Ethan staring blankly at the TV or woke to an empty bed, he knew someone had to pay, not with blood, but with accountability. Then he found David Carter, a lawyer with a reputation for dismantling untouchable systems. They met in a cluttered office above a pawn shop, walls lined with clippings of David's wins against cities and corporations. Michael poured out the story, minute by agonizing minute. David listened, scribbling notes, his face unreadable. When Michael finished, David leaned back. They think their bylaws are a shield. Let's make them a noose. Within days, they built a case. Public records, 911 logs, ambulance GPS, gate camera footage, and internal HOA emails painted a damning picture. A medical examiner's report sealed it. Sarah's heart attack had a high survival rate if treated within 8 to 10 minutes. She died at 6:43 a.m. The paramedics reached her at 6:46 a.m. 3 minutes? That was the cost of a clipboard. Then came the bombshell. An anonymous email landed in Michael's inbox. I worked for Willow Creek. I know what they're hiding. Michael forwarded it to David, who replied, Meet me. They chose a diner off the interstate, where a woman in her late 20s slid into their booth. I'm Lauren, she said, eyes tired but sharp. She'd been the HOA's assistant manager, privy to boardroom secrets. This wasn't the first time, she said. Medics were delayed twice before, a stroke, an allergic reaction. Non-fatal, but close. I warned them. They ignored me. Lauren handed over a flash drive. It held email chains, one from a year earlier when a paramedic delay sparked a complaint. Lauren had emailed the board. We need an emergency override. This will kill someone. The HOA president replied, Legal liability outweighs a bad outcome. Delay is safer. Michael's blood ran cold. They'd known. They'd chosen paperwork over lives. Lauren's drive also held a draft memo for an emergency access fix, buried in an inbox for months. She'd quit before they could fire her for pushing too hard. Can you testify? David asked. Lauren hesitated, then nodded. Someone has to. The lawsuit exploded into the public eye. Ethan's story, CPR behind a locked gate, went viral. Local news became national. CNN ran a headline. Did an HOA let a mother die? The hashtag open the gate trended, with gated community residents sharing their nightmares. The trial, on a stormy June Monday, packed the courthouse. Protesters outside held signs. HOAs kill! Inside, Michael took the stand, his voice steady but raw. My son didn't fail, Sarah. You did. You were there, and you let her die. David's case was relentless. Timestamps, footage, Lauren's testimony, that chilling email about liability. The defense flailed, blaming paramedics, dispatchers, anyone but the HOA. The jury deliberated 6 hours. Their verdict hit like thunder: $1.8 million for the Brooks family, plus a call for statewide HOA reform. The board members sat pale, their fortress of policies in ruins. Most would have stopped there. But Michael saw their tight lips, their refusal to meet Ethan's eyes. They acted like victims of their own rules. So he went further. He sued each board member personally, naming them, tying their signatures to the policy that killed Sarah. No hiding behind the HOA's shield. You wrote it. You approved it. You answer for it, Michael said through David's filings. Some tried to settle. Others lawyered up, claiming ignorance. But Michael didn't want apologies. He wanted their names on record, their choices exposed. The fight changed Ethan, too. Therapy helped him sleep again, but the scars lingered. One night, folding laundry, he asked, "Dad, would Mom be less proud if I hadn't done CPR?" Michael knelt, heartbroken. "She was proud of you from the day you were born. You were her hero." Ethan nodded, a small step toward healing. Months later, Ethan stood before a classroom, teaching CPR to 5th graders. "Sometimes adults don't know what to do," he said. "But you can." Michael kept fighting, lobbying for reform, meeting lawmakers, telling HOAs, no child should beg for their mother's life while you check a clipboard. Sarah's death wasn't just a tragedy, it sparked a movement. This isn't just a story of loss. It's about what comes after justice. It's about a father and son who turned grief into change. But it's also a question: how far would you go to hold the guilty accountable? Should Michael have sued the board members personally, or was the HOA's punishment enough? And what about the guard, just following orders? Was he a victim or a cog in a deadly machine? Share your thoughts in the comments. Let's debate. When rules clash with lives, who's really to blame? Hit that like button, subscribe, and let's keep this conversation going.